Alright, so I'd like to talk about Finn Balor. Is the WWE about to make Finn Balor the new Stone Cold Steve Austin? This generation's Stone Cold Steve Austin. There's a few things to take into consideration when thinking about this. You know, just in case people don't know who Stone Cold Steve Austin was, he's been living under a rock. Stone Cold Steve Austin was a wrestler from what's known as the Attitude Era. He spearheaded that along with The Rock, and he is one of the biggest selling merchandise sellers in the history of the company. Really helped bring the business to a whole new level. His character was one of basically a common man going up against the boss, and he would say and do things to his employer, Vince McMahon, that everybody wishes they could do to their employer if their employer was an absolute bellend. It was really fun to watch. Now with Finn Balor, it's well documented that Vince McMahon is not sold on Finn Balor, on his size, his character. He doesn't really fit the mold that Vince McMahon likes in a prototypical sort of WWE wrestler. We're talking like 6 foot, bit like a brick wall, chiseled. You know, Finn Balor's a smaller guy. He's very well put together, but he's a smaller guy. But at the end of the day, he's one of the best wrestlers on the planet, hands down. There's a reason why Triple H went after him really hard back when he signed him to NXT. And they did a fantastic job with his character on NXT. If you go on the WWE network, you'll be able to go through a lot of his all of his matches that he had at NXT. Fantastic in the ring, fantastic storytelling. And he got a good push when he first came up to the main roster, but was derailed by injury, and then Vince McMahon kind of chinned him off, and it's been very well documented that he's not exactly a fan of Finn Balor. So there's that story already in place, and from the exchanges they had on Monday Night Raw, there's the foundation. It seems possible, like the foundations for Finn Balor turning into that Stone Cold-esque character, and Vince McMahon being the antagonist and coming back to television to be that antagonist. Seems like it seems like the foundations are being laid for that story to be told. Another person in the equation of this is Braun Strowman. As everyone will know, he's had his title match at the Rumble with Brock Lesnar taken off him by Vince McMahon. Now, with regards to this, there's 2 conflicting stories going around at the moment. Number one is that, well, 3 really. Number one is that there's a story going around that he's still injured, which is completely not bollocks, because if he was injured, he wouldn't be able to lift a limo and flip it on its on itself. You know, it'd just be impossible. If that guy still had an arm injury, ain't no way he's flipping a limo. It's not possible. Okay. Number 2 is that he has a lot of backstage heat on him. He's reported over the past several months to have had a really bad attitude backstage. Turning up late, leaving early. Having just a kind of a bad attitude with writers and producers. Not really caring about what he's doing and where he's going. And it's stemming from how his character has been used, essentially. All these problems are stemming from that. You know, they had the opportunity to pull the trigger on Braun Strowman. He should have been in the main event with Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania. That should have been his spot. He at the very least should have been. It should have been a triple threat match at the very least, with, you know, Braun pinning Roman. Then Brock doesn't lose face, etc. You know, but they didn't. They didn't pull the trigger. He ended up wrestling a match with a kid, and it was embarrassing. And his stock has kind of plummeted since WrestleMania. He won the Money in the Bank as well, and did nothing with that. They did nothing with that. And it seems like not only he's one of the casualties of the ripple effect of Roman Reigns, unfortunately, with the company trying so very hard to get the character of Roman Reigns over. They have tossed everybody else aside, and they've damaged so many wrestlers and the characters so badly that they need fresh starts. They need to go somewhere else. Really, we're talking like after WrestleMania, that swap of talent cannot come quick enough. It really can't. You know, Finn Balor suffered heavily with it. Seth Rollins suffered heavily with it. There's, you know, so many of them have suffered this ripple effect. You know, nothing can be done about it. And now, I guess they're trying to sort it out. But yeah, so he's got backstage heat on him because of a bad attitude. And the third and final theory running about at the moment is that Vince McMahon believes that the Brock Lesnar Braun Strowman match has big money in it, and would prefer it at WrestleMania. Which will then throw a few other theories about Brock Lesnar's opponent up in the air, because, you know, you had the likes of AJ Styles apparently was the lead guy to be facing Brock Lesnar. You know, you also had the theory of Seth Rollins going in there and facing Brock Lesnar for the title, perhaps. So this whole situation is throwing a lot of things up. Vince McMahon apparently feels that match has money written all over it. Now, whether that's for the title is a completely different story, which is something we won't know until until after the Royal Rumble is finished. So let's do this. So Finn Balor, number one contender for the title. Now, there's a couple of ways. There's a couple of ways this could go down. He could obviously lose. If he loses, it would be a shame, really, I think. But he could win. Now I'm going to talk about if he wins here, because, you know, I like Finn Balor. I think he's great in the ring. I think he's a good character. There's a lot of potential there. So we're going to work on the basis that he's going to win, and what could possibly happen and transpire, and why that could lead him into this being set up as this generation's Stone Cold, at least for a little bit, anyway. So Finn Balor beats Brock Lesnar at the Rumble. Now, he could come out as the Demon and do that. The Beast versus the Demon. It's got a ring to it. It could happen. It could work, you know. You could also factor in Braun Strowman into this equation. So Braun Strowman could come and could cost Brock Lesnar the title, you know. That's another way that this could work, you know. Brock Lesnar could lose clean to Finn Balor as the Demon as well. I mean, that would work as well. I think it'll be a good match. As a lot of people don't think that it's going to be a good match, but I mean, because it's Brock Lesnar. But Brock Lesnar has proved on occasion that when he wants to, he will have a good match and he will work with the person in front of him. You know, he's had some great matches. AJ Styles, Daniel Bryan, Samoa Joe. You know, they've been good matches. You know, and he's not been carried through those matches either. You know, and I think Finn Balor will be another case of that. You know, I think it'll be a good match. You know, Finn Balor is I don't think some people really understand or respect how good Finn Balor is in the ring and how good he is at telling and selling a story. You know, so I think it'll work. You know, another reason why he could win is that there's every chance that Brock Lesnar is going back to the UFC. Now, it's rumoured continually that he's going to go back and he's going to fight Daniel Cormier. Daniel Cormier is calling for that fight constantly. He wants that big money fight. That's the fight he wants to end his career on. International Fight Week, I think it is in April, which is around, well, it's the same month as WrestleMania, isn't it really? Brock Lesnar has apparently been training for it. There's a lot of conflicting stories about how this is going to, how it is, him going back into the UFC is going to happen. So if he is going back in, he's more than likely going to drop the title at the Rumble. You know what I mean? So Finn wins the title at the Rumble. Then the following night on Raw, Vince comes out and he basically says that he doesn't believe that Finn is the guy to lead the company forward. That he doesn't believe Finn Balor can be the face of the company. Asks him to give the title up. Finn says no. Tells him to give the title up. Finn says no. And so then he orders a title defense straight away on that Raw, and starts a process of making his life very, very difficult. We get to the Elimination Chamber, and he is put in the Elimination Chamber. He will defend his title at the Elimination Chamber, in the Elimination Chamber, and he will be one of the starting competitors in that. You know, I would have him win that and survive that somehow. Then for his WrestleMania match, I would, you know, there's not that many heels for him to go against that you could put in a big selling match. I mean, it's just not. It's not going to happen. There's not that many there. So you'd be looking at someone like Seth Rollins in the main event, something along those lines. Yes, it'd be face versus face, but I mean, if they were allowed, if they had the handcuffs taken off them, I mean, that'd be a card stealing match. I have no doubts about it. The reason, I know there's, you know, people are going to mention Drew McIntyre. The reason why I haven't included Drew McIntyre at WrestleMania there is because I believe he's going to be in a program with John Cena, and John Cena is going to put Drew McIntyre over. Originally, that John Cena program was set for Lars Sullivan, but Lars Sullivan is having a few issues. He's having a few problems. So I don't think he's going to be put into that program. He may end up doing the Battle Royal instead. Drew McIntyre, I believe, will be in the program of John Cena, and that, I believe, will be a fantastic match. But after that, after WrestleMania, Drew McIntyre then moves on and moves into the title picture. He can be acting on behalf of Vince McMahon. Either him or somebody like Andrea Cianalmas, if he gets traded over to Raw, is an ideal candidate for this. With Vince starting up some sort of new corporation, I think Drew should probably be the main guy in this. You know, he's definitely a Vince McMahon guy. Definitely, he's got all the right attributes for it. And this feud could go all the way through. Vince McMahon putting roadblock in front of Finn Balor and wearing him down gradually and slowly but surely. And then he drops the title at SummerSlam to Drew. And then I would have Finn Balor chasing the title until WrestleMania. Really, to be honest, I'd have him chasing the title to WrestleMania. You know, at the Rumble, you could have him in they could put him in a high stakes match where he has to win the match to get into the Rumble. You know, and then he gets into the Rumble at a ridiculous place. There's been people paid off, a lot like how they worked Stone Cold at the 98 Rumble, 99 Rumble. Something like that. He can come in and just blitz people. That'd be really cool. And then eventually win the Rumble. You know? And then I'd have him win the title back at WrestleMania 2020. You know, the corporation stable could run for at the very least 12 months, and you can include the likes of Bobby Roode and EC3, Chad Gable, the Revival if they stick around, along with the likes of Drew and Andrea Cianalmas. You know, and once the corporation stable is finished per se, some of those guys could break off and create what would essentially be a new 4 horseman stable, which could then go and move back into going up against Finn Balor. So at the helm of that, you could have Bobby Roode in prime position with that to take that forward, to continue the story. You know, I mean, you could even include, or you could even roll the corporation angle if you wanted to carry it on past 12 months. You could include the club into this, and you could include like the much talked about invasion storyline angle into this. I mean, you could, and it would work. Definitely, it would definitely work. You know, with Finn Balor at the head of it, going up against the corporation, going against Vince McMahon, Gallows and Anderson. You know, if AJ Styles still about, AJ Styles is in there. You know, and this could work on both brands. You know, but I mean that's what I'd like to see. I think that would make compelling TV. You know, you could take it in a lot of different directions, and you know, Vince McMahon, when he's playing that role, there's nobody better than him. There's nobody better at playing a knobhead boss than Vince McMahon, and I think Finn Balor fits that. Fits that character really well to go up against Vince McMahon because he's a little bit smaller than everybody else, you know. He certainly gets the right crowd reactions. I think he'd become even more popular, you know. But yeah, so Finn Balor, the new Stone Cold, it's a possibility. It could work. Whether it will is a completely different kettle of fish. Probably not. But this could all just be a ruse to keep him out of the clutches of All Elite Wrestling. We will have to wait and see. So that sees the end of that, and I will see you again for something new, for a new crazy theory on the WWE. See ya.